Welcome back to SOUS VIDE Everything, guys. Today we are making an extremely affordable beef Wellington. Check it out.
Here I have a sterling silver choice grade eye round. It is a fraction of the price of a tenderloin. It's tough, not tender at all, but it is cheap. And one thing that we know about this cut is that sous vide can make it really tender. In order to make beef Wellington, the first thing that I need to do is to trim it. So I started by removing all the connective tissue and the oxidized fat. Normally a beef tenderloin does not have any fat. However, we all know fat is flavor. Since the eye round has a fat cap, I'm going to be leaving it on. That will either be a genius thing or a terrible idea. The reason you don't want fat on your beef is that it will render and go into your puff pastry, which will make it soggy. And that's one thing that you want to avoid when making a beef Wellington. Once I was done with my trimming, this is what it looks like. Even though it's nice and trim, it's still very thick. In order for the puff pastry to go all the way around, it must be shorter. So I'm going to start by removing the ends and trimming a little bit of the middle. And like I said previously, I will be keeping the fat cap. I know it adds good flavor, and since this is an experiment, I want to keep it on. But once I was done trimming, this is what it looks like. To make sure I render my fat as much as possible, I decided to score it. The one thing I'm trying to avoid is to go all the way through the meat. To ensure it keeps its shape as I'm searing it, I am going to tie it with butcher's twine. Then I season it well with salt, freshly ground black pepper, and garlic powder. The one thing I know we're gonna beat the beef tenderloin is with flavor, so make sure you season it well. From previous experiment, we know that umami powder works well. I've done a complete video on this, and if you want to bring out amazing flavor from any beef, I definitely recommend it. It is also super cheap, which is perfect for what we're doing today. To use it, it's just like a seasoning. I like to sprinkle it on my board and rub my meat around it. This will ensure that every edge gets coated. Now the next step is to put it in the bag and cook it sous vide. Talking about that, I'll be cooking it at 131 degrees Fahrenheit for 24 hours.
It has been 24 hours that I put that eye round in there, and it was cooked at 131 degrees Fahrenheit. But now it's ready, and we're gonna prepare it and make a beautiful beef Wellington with it. Check it out.
The one thing we know about this meat is that it's perfectly cooked. And since it was done for such a long time, we don't expect it to be pink in the middle. However, we do expect it to be very tender. Hopefully as good as a beef tenderloin, which costs 10 times more than this. After I removed all the butcher's twine, the next step is to give it a nice sear. And for that, I'll be using grapeseed oil, butter, and thyme. So let's do it. You know that that's a perfect sear. It is already looking good enough to eat. But now we're gonna finish it up our Wellington. As it's still hot, you wanna spread Dijon mustard. Make sure you get all edges. And the next thing we gotta do is the mushroom Duxelle. And here's how. On a saute pan, I threw a little bit of oil, shallots, and garlic. I cooked it until it was translucent and added my mushrooms. These are white mushrooms. You're welcome to use any one you like, but the white mushrooms are the cheapest. The goal is to brown up those mushrooms until they are little mini flavor bombs. The browner it is, the more flavor it has. Then I threw in a little bit of butter. Just make sure you don't put too much butter. If you do, it will leak to the puff pastry. Then to finish it up, I added a little bit of garlic, season it with freshly ground black pepper and salt. Mix it all together and it's ready for the food processor. As it's still hot, make sure you process everything fine. As I mentioned several times on this video, one of the enemies of beef Wellington is moisture. To make sure I get it all out, I put it on a paper towel and pat it dry. The drier, the better. But once I was done, my mushroom Duxelle was ready. To give even more flavor to our beef Wellington, I decided to make a sauce. So using the same pan, I threw in a little bit of shallots and garlic. I put a nice color on them and threw in the liquids from the bag. Then I tried to remove all the fond, which are the little flavor goodness that was left from the mushrooms in the pan. If you don't have enough liquids from the bag, you can also use a little bit of beef stock. Then you want to let it reduce to half. Once that was done, I added a little bit of red wine. This will give a nice rich flavor to the sauce. Remember to reduce and cook off the alcohol. Then the next thing to do is to strain it. That, my friends, is liquid gold. an intense beef flavor that goes well with anything. To finish off the sauce, I threw it back in the skillet and added a little bit of butter. This will make it creamier. And if you want it thicker, you can always add a little bit of cornstarch. Just make sure you dilute it with water before adding. If not, you're gonna get big lumps. Once my butter was melted, I finish it off with a little bit of heavy cream. This just takes it to another level. Now all there's left to do is to mix it well and my sauce is done. The next thing to do is to make life a lot easier, and I learned this the hard way. You have to lay down some clinch plastic. I've tried to do it before without it. It's just a nightmare. Now for the assembly. I started by adding the puff pastry and Parma ham. You're looking for one thin coat. There is no need for more. Then we want to spread out our mushroom Duxelle. It is important to cover all edges. Keeping the same thickness is also extremely important. Now the only other ingredient missing is to put our beef. To roll it, it's not a big deal, especially if you have the clinch plastic. Start on the bottom and finish it up on the top. Carefully work the plastic around it to make a tight cylinder. The tighter, the better. And once I was done, this is what it looks like. To make sure it maintains its shape, I like to put it in the refrigerator to rest for 30 minutes. As it was cooling down, I decided to do a decoration, and I'm going to be using this tool. It is pretty easy to use. Let me show it to you. You just got to roll it on top, and it cuts a nice design. Once the 30 minutes were up, I removed it from the refrigerator and laid it down on some parchment paper. Now all there's left to do is to brush some egg wash, grab my decoration puff pastry and put it on top. Make sure everything sticks, add a little bit more of egg wash, and my chipped beef Wellington is ready for baking.
All right, everybody, we have our Wellington here. What do you think, Mama?
Those look good.
It looks good, but you know, see how it's a little bit grayish?
It's a little bit...
I wish it was a little bit pinker. Mama doesn't know what's happening, everybody. Mama, this is not tenderloin. This is a very inexpensive beef Wellington, and we're gonna judge from, you know, we have beef Wellington quite a few times, and we're gonna judge to see how good it is, yeah?
How do you make this inexpensive?
I'm not gonna tell you. You're gonna find out later. This is mystery meat, Mama. Anyway, enough talking. Let's give this a try. Just by touching it here, it's not as tender as I thought it was gonna be. But hey, the taste is everything. When you're cutting, it's not that tender, huh, Mama?
You're not kidding. It's a little tough. This is gonna be a cheap one.
I know you're used to filet mignon, and when you cut it, your knife just glides through it. This one gives you a little tug.
This does not cut like butter.
All right, fair review. Cheers, everybody.
The flavor is amazing.
That's good, Mama.
Wow.
That's good.
Oh my God.
I didn't think it was gonna be tender, which is not extremely tender, but it's tender.
It's not tender like a filet mignon.
No.
Even though it feels tender when you're cutting it, when you're chewing, it's really tender and it's so flavorful.
Oh yeah, this has a lot more flavor than a beef tenderloin.
Yeah, immediately when you put it on your mouth,
oh,
you're gonna start
Mama.
tasting it.
That's because we were cutting the crust. Cut just the middle part.
Just the steak?
Just the middle part itself. The middle part, when you're cutting the crust is very crunchy because I really wanted to get a nice strong sear. But the meat itself, it is tender.
Oh my God.
It is tender. It's tender. Yes, it's tender. And the flavor
And flavorful.
is so much more superior than the tenderloin. You agree?
A lot more superior.
Yes! I didn't have a lot of high hopes because it's not tenderloin. Mama, I cooked it for 24 hours.
There's no way not to be tender then.
Yeah, it has to be tender, right? That pinkness that when you normally cut a beef tenderloin and you show the beef Wellington like I've done it before, there's no way you're gonna get it here. But if you're looking for something affordable that you can make it for your family members at any time, this is the way to go.
Definitely. What did you put on the meat? Let's start.
A lot of different things.
Guess I have to watch to find out.
You have to watch to find out.
I was going to ask if you put anything extra on the pastry, but the pastry tastes the same. It's just whatever you put around the...
That's the mushroom Duxelle, Momo.
Ah.
Let's give a little bit of that sauce, and I'm gonna let you know if it's needed or not. With the sauce, everybody, cheers.
Oh.
Yeah, the sauce is much better. It makes it better. But if you're lazy and you don't want to make the sauce, it's still okay. But if you can't make the sauce.
If you're making just the beef Wellington, make the sauce. Because when you're tired of just eating the steak, you can put the sauce and it changes a little bit.
Honestly, you don't need the sauce. But make it anyway. Agree, Mama? Oh my God, Mama just went to heaven. Anyway, guys, these are the results. It turned out fantastic. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Remember, if you are interested in anything I use, everything is always in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Now, to answer the question, is this better than Gordon Ramsay? I don't want to say yes, because he makes it with the most fine ingredients, but at the same time, this will give a run for its money.
I don't want to say yes because I haven't eaten his.
Yeah, me neither.
Hey, hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Chef Gordon Ramsay, send us a ticket so we can go try it. Definitely will. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.